Officer, I'm going to reach into my glove compartment for my registration, then my wallet for my license, just so you're aware of my movements.
Oh! Just give me the documents! McLaren 720S. What's something like this run? 200-300 grand?
Approximately. I'm an attorney, officer.
An attorney, right? And I'm the Queen of England.
Where'd you really get this car? Who'd you steal it from?
I didn't steal anything. I purchased this vehicle. I can prove ownership right now.
Nobody in that small-town police station knew what was about to happen. Not the desk sergeant, not the mayor who'd just arrived, and especially not Officer Derek Mitchell, who was currently smiling as he watched a tow truck haul away the crumpled remains of a $300,000 McLaren. But in 60 seconds, that smile would vanish forever. And in 60 days, he'd be wearing orange instead of blue. Let me take you back to where this all started. 3 hours earlier, Highway 71, just outside Millbrook, Texas. The McLaren 720S cut through the Texas heat like a blade through silk. Burnt orange paint gleamed under the afternoon sun. And if you listen close, you could hear the twin-turbo V8 purring like a contented beast. Behind the wheel sat Marcus Webb, 34 years old, with close-cropped hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and the kind of calm expression that comes from winning arguments for a living. He'd been driving for 6 hours straight. Houston to Millbrook, big city to small town, federal prosecutor to, well, still federal prosecutor. Just in a new district. A promotion, actually. The kind that came with more responsibility, a higher caseload, and apparently, a lot more miles of empty highway. Marcus glanced at his GPS 20 minutes out. 20 minutes until he'd see his new office, meet his new team, and start the biggest case of his career. A corruption investigation that reached into City Hall, the police department, and half the county's business elite. He didn't know it yet, but that case was about to become very personal. The speed limit dropped from 75 to 45 in a matter of yards. One of those small-town speed traps designed to catch highway drivers who weren't paying attention. But Marcus was paying attention. He always paid attention. He tapped the brakes, watched the speedometer drop to exactly 43 miles per hour, and continued down Main Street. That's when he saw the lights in his rearview mirror. Red and blue, flashing in that particular rhythm that makes everyone's stomach drop just a little. Marcus sighed, checked his mirrors, signaled, even though there was no one else on the road, and pulled into the parking lot of a shuttered gas station. He rolled down his window, turned off the engine, put both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. He'd been black in America long enough to know the routine. The officer who approached wasn't what Marcus expected. Young, maybe 28. Buzz cut. Sunglasses despite the sun being behind clouds. Arms that suggested he spent more time at the gym than behind a desk. His badge read Mitchell. License and registration. Officer Mitchell said. No greeting. No, do you know why I pulled you over? Just straight to business. Of course, officer, Marcus replied, his voice steady and professional. I'm going to reach into my glove compartment for my registration, and then my wallet for my license. Just letting you know my movements. Mitchell's jaw tightened. Just give me the documents. Marcus did exactly what he said he'd do. Slow movements. No surprises. He handed both items through the window. Mitchell didn't even look at them. He was staring at the car, walking around it slowly, like a shark circling prey. His hand traced along the carbon fiber body, fingers leaving prints on the pristine paint. Nice car, Mitchell said. It didn't sound like a compliment. Thank you, officer. McLaren 720S. What's something like this run? 200,000? 300? Around there, Marcus said carefully. Mitchell stopped at the driver's window, leaning down so his face was level with Marcus's. And what exactly do you do for a living, Mr. Webb? Here's the thing about that question. On the surface, it seems innocent enough. Just a curious cop making conversation. But Marcus had been asked that question dozens of times. Always with the same tone. Always with the same implication hanging in the air like smoke from a gun. What he wanted to say was, I'm an attorney. A federal prosecutor. I graduated top of my class from Yale Law. I've put away drug kingpins, corrupt politicians, and white-collar criminals who stole more money than you'll see in 10 lifetimes. And I bought this car with money I earned from working 80-hour weeks and winning cases that most lawyers wouldn't touch. What he actually said was, I'm an attorney, officer. Mitchell smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. An attorney. Right. And I'm the Queen of England. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Here we go, he thought. Is there a problem with my license, officer? Where'd you really get this car? Mitchell pressed. Who'd you steal it from? I didn't steal anything. I purchased this vehicle from a dealership in Houston 6 months ago. I have all the paperwork. Step out of the car. Those 4 words. The 4 words that change everything. Officer, may I ask why? Step out of the car. Louder now. A hand moving toward his belt. Marcus took a breath. Slow. Controlled. Then he opened the door and stepped out, hands visible at all times. He was 6 feet tall, but Mitchell was taller. The officer positioned himself close, too close, invading space in a way that was clearly intentional. Turn around. Hands on the car. Officer Mitchell, I haven't done anything wrong. You're driving a stolen vehicle. That's what you've done wrong. This car isn't stolen. I can prove ownership right now if you just... You calling me a liar? The parking lot was empty. No witnesses. No cameras. Just two men in a very expensive car in a situation that was spiraling out of control fast. Marcus pressed his palms against the warm metal of the McLaren. He could feel his heart rate rising, but he kept his voice level. Officer, I'm not calling you anything. I'm simply stating that there's been a misunderstanding. If you run the VIN, you'll see that this vehicle is registered to me. Marcus Webb, the name on my license. Mitchell pulled out his radio, but he didn't call on the VIN. Instead, he called for backup. This is Unit 12. I've got a suspicious individual in a high-end vehicle. Possible grand theft auto. Need backup at the old Sunoco station on Main Street. Marcus closed his eyes. This was really happening. Within 5 minutes, 2 more patrol cars arrived. Officers exited, hands on holsters, treating the scene like Marcus was armed and dangerous instead of a man in a polo shirt and khakis standing next to his own car. He claims he owns it, Mitchell told the other officers. There was that word again. Claims. Like ownership was a fantasy. Like the documentation in his glove compartment was written in invisible ink. One of the other officers, older, with sergeant stripes, looked uncomfortable. Did you run the VIN? About to, Mitchell said, but he still didn't move to do it. Marcus spoke up, directing his words to the sergeant. Sir, my name is Marcus Webb. I'm a federal prosecutor, newly assigned to the Northern District Office here in Millbrook. I'm scheduled to meet with District Attorney Simmons at 4 p.m. today. I purchased this vehicle 6 months ago, and I have all the documentation. Mitchell cut him off with a laugh. A federal prosecutor. Sure you are, and I'm about to win the lottery. The sergeant shifted his weight. Mitchell, just run the VIN and let's clear this up. But something had changed in Officer Mitchell's expression. Something dark and stubborn. He'd committed to his narrative, and now his ego was involved. Backing down would mean admitting he was wrong. And men like Derek. Mitchell never admitted they were wrong. I don't need to run anything. Look at him. Look at this car. You really think this guy is a federal prosecutor? The quiet part, left unspoken. You really think a black man can legitimately own a car like this? Marcus felt anger rising in his throat, hot and sharp. But he swallowed it down. Getting angry was what they wanted. Anger gave them justification. So instead, he said, Officer, I understand there may be confusion, but if you'll just make one phone call to the U.S. Attorney's office. I'm not calling anyone. Mitchell snapped. You're going to wait right here while we figure out who really owns this car. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Marcus stood in the Texas heat while officers poked around his vehicle, opened his trunk, went through his briefcase. They found his bar association card, his business cards, his case files with U.S. Department of Justice printed on every page. Mitchell looked at each item like it was a prop. Like Marcus had stopped at a costume store on the way to town. The sergeant pulled Mitchell aside. Marcus couldn't hear the conversation, but he could read body language. The sergeant was trying to de-escalate. Mitchell was refusing. Finally, one of the officers ran the VIN. The computer came back clean. Vehicle registered to Marcus Webb. No theft reports. No liens. Nothing. Marcus felt relief flood through him. This nightmare was almost over. Then Officer Mitchell said the words that changed everything. Computer's wrong. The sergeant stared at him. What? The computer's wrong. I know a stolen car when I see one. This guy's hiding something. Mitchell's hand moved to his baton. And I'm going to find out what. Here's what you need to understand about men like Derek Mitchell. They operate in a world where their authority is absolute, where their judgment is law, where admitting a mistake is worse than making the mistake in the first place. And when that authority is challenged, not by force, not by resistance, but by simple reality, they don't back down. They double down. Mitchell walked back to Marcus. You got any other ID? Passport? Social security card? Officer, you have my driver's license. You've run my plates. Everything checks out. I'd really like to be on my way. You'll leave when I say you can leave. Am I being detained? Mitchell smiled again. That same cold smile. Yeah, you're being detained. Suspicious activity. What suspicious activity? Driving a vehicle I believe to be stolen. The computer says it's not stolen. The computer makes mistakes. They stood there, locked in a stalemate. Marcus knew his rights. He knew the law better than everyone in this parking lot combined. But knowing the law and having the law applied fairly are two very different things when you're black in a small town and the officer has decided you're guilty of something, anything, just by existing. Then Marcus saw it. The subtle shift in Mitchell's posture. The way his hand moved from his baton to his radio. The glance he exchanged with the other officers. Something bad was about to happen. You know what? Mitchell said slowly, deliberately. I think this vehicle needs to be impounded pending investigation. You can't do that, Marcus said. You have no grounds. I have all the grounds I need. This is a suspected stolen vehicle. Impounding it is standard procedure. The sergeant stepped forward. Mitchell, come on. The VIN came back clean. Let's just call the tow truck, Mitchell ordered. And he did. God help him, he actually did. Marcus felt his composure cracking. Officer Mitchell, I'm telling you right now, officially and on the record, that you are violating my Fourth Amendment rights. This is an illegal seizure of property. I'm not consenting to this. Noted, Mitchell said, still smiling. The tow truck arrived 15 minutes later. Marcus watched in disbelief as the driver hooked chains to his McLaren. The car he'd saved for. The car he'd worked for. The car that represented every late night, every one case, every time someone told him he couldn't make it, and he proved them wrong. Please, Marcus said, and he hated the pleading tone in his own voice. Please don't do this. Mitchell walked up to him, close enough that Marcus could smell coffee and tobacco on his breath. Maybe next time you'll think twice about driving through my town in a car you can't afford. That's when Marcus did something he almost never did. He let his anger show. I'm going to remember this, Officer Mitchell. Every detail, every word, every illegal action you've taken today. And when this is over, you're going to wish. You threatening me? Mitchell's hand went to his handcuffs. The sergeant grabbed Mitchell's arm. Derek, enough. Let go. For a moment, it could have gone either way. Marcus could see Mitchell considering it. Considering the satisfaction of slapping cuffs on, of escalating this from civil rights violation to false arrest, of taking this black man who dared to talk back and showing him exactly who had the power here. But finally, Mitchell stepped back. Get out of here. And if I see you in my town again, we're going to have a problem. I work here, Marcus said quietly. You're going to see me every day. Mitchell's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then it was back, razor sharp. We'll see about that. The tow truck drove away with Marcus's McLaren hanging from its rear end like a trophy. Marcus stood in that parking lot, watching $300,000 of his hard-earned property disappear around a corner, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Helplessness. He called an Uber, waited 25 minutes for it to arrive because this town only had 2 drivers. Rode in silence to the U.S. Attorney's office on Cherry Street, arriving 40 minutes late for his first day of work. The receptionist, a kind-faced woman in her 50s named Patricia, took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. Mr. Webb, are you all right? I'm fine, he lied. Just a long drive. District Attorney Simmons is waiting for you in the conference room. Marcus nodded, straightened his collar, and walked down the hallway like nothing had happened. Because that's what you did. You compartmentalized. You pushed it down. You saved it for later. But later was coming faster than anyone expected. District Attorney Catherine Simmons was 62, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She'd been a prosecutor for 37 years, and she'd seen every kind of case, every kind of criminal, every kind of injustice the legal system could produce. She shook Marcus's hand with a firm grip. Welcome to Millbrook, Mr. Webb. I've read your file. Very impressive record. Thank you, ma'am. Please call me Catherine. We're colleagues now. She gestured to a chair. I know you've had a long drive. Can I get you some coffee? Water. Water would be great. Thank you. As she poured from a pitcher on the conference table, she said, I want to brief you on the corruption case. It's bigger than I initially reported to your superiors in Houston. We're talking about systematic fraud going back at least 8 years. Kickbacks. Bribery. Evidence tampering. Marcus leaned forward, his prosecutor instincts kicking in despite the afternoon's trauma. How high does it go? City Council. Police Department. The mayor's office, though we don't have direct evidence on Mayor Reeves yet. It's a network. Everyone protecting everyone else. Who's cooperating? We have 2 witnesses so far. Both low-level city employees who saw things they shouldn't have. But they're terrified. This is a small town, Marcus. Everyone knows everyone. Coming forward means becoming a pariah. Or worse. Marcus added. Or worse. Catherine agreed. She slid a file across the table. This is what we have so far. I want you to review everything and give me your assessment by end of week. Marcus opened the file. Names, dates, dollar amounts. Bank records showing payments that didn't add up. Testimony transcripts. Photographs of meetings that shouldn't have happened. And there, on page 47, he saw it. A photograph of a police officer accepting an envelope from a construction company executive. The officer's face was clearly visible in the telephoto shot. Officer Derek Mitchell. Marcus's hand froze on the page. Catherine noticed. You recognize someone? He looked up at her. Officer Mitchell. What's his involvement in this? Enforcement arm of the operation. When businesses didn't want to pay the fees that city officials demanded, Mitchell and a few other officers would show up. Suddenly, there'd be code violations, health department issues, reasons to shut down operations until everyone played ball. Catherine paused. Why? You know him. Marcus laughed. It was a bitter sound. I just met him. About an hour ago. Then he told her everything. The traffic stop. The accusations. The illegal impound. Every detail while it was fresh in his mind, speaking in the precise language of someone who knew this story would eventually be told in a courtroom. Catherine's expression grew darker with each sentence. When he finished, she was silent for a long moment. Then she said, Where's your car now? Millbrook impound lot, I assume. And you have all the documentation proving ownership? In the glove compartment. Catherine picked up her phone. Dialed. Dan, it's Catherine Simmons. I need you to do something for me right now. Go to the impound lot and photograph a vehicle that was brought in within the last hour. McLaren, orange. Get photos of the entire car, especially any damage. And Dan, if anyone tries to stop you, tell them you're there on my authority as district attorney. She listened for a moment. Good. Call me back in 20 minutes. She hung up and looked at Marcus. Dan's our investigator, former Texas Ranger. If something's wrong with your car, he'll document it. You think Mitchell would damage it? I think Mitchell is currently under investigation for corruption, abuse of power, and evidence tampering. And you just gave him a very bad afternoon. Catherine's expression was grim. Men like that don't respond well to challenges. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He doesn't know who I am. I told him, but he didn't believe me. He will soon. Small town, remember? Word travels fast. And when he finds out you're the federal prosecutor assigned to the case that could send him to prison. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. 20 minutes later, Dan called back. Catherine put on speaker. What did you find? You're not going to like this. Dan's voice was heavy. The McLaren is here. And it's trashed. Marcus felt his blood go cold. What do you mean trashed? I mean someone took a baton or a bat to it. Smashed windshield. Broken mirrors. Deep gouges in the paint. All 4 tires slashed. And the interior looks like someone went at it with a knife. Seats are ripped open. Dashboard cracked. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. The conference room went silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Did you get photos? Catherine asked. Every angle. And I got something else. Security footage from the impound lot. It's on a continuous loop, so it's still there. Shows Officer Mitchell entering the lot about 45 minutes ago. Spending 20 minutes inside. Then leaving. Dan paused. You want me to secure this footage before it disappears? Download it. Make 3 copies. Store them in 3 different locations. And Dan, do it now. On it. Catherine ended the call and looked at Marcus. How much was that car worth? 300,000. Give or take. And you have full documentation of ownership? Yes. Good. Because we're about to add felony criminal mischief to Officer Mitchell's list of problems. She stood up, pacing now. This is actually perfect. He just handed us leverage. Leverage for what? To flip him. Catherine's eyes gleamed with the expression of a prosecutor who'd just seen an opening. Mitchell's not the top of this operation. He's middle management. But he knows everything. Names, dates, amounts. He's been collecting payoffs for years. If we can get him to cooperate, we can build a case against everyone above him. You think he'll flip? I think he's currently looking at destruction of property charges, unlawful seizure, civil rights violations, and whatever we could tie to him from the corruption investigation. We're talking about 10 to 15 years if everything sticks. Catherine smiled. Yeah, he'll flip. But Marcus wasn't smiling. He was thinking about his car, his property, his symbol of achievement reduced to scrap metal because a bad cop couldn't handle being challenged. I want to file charges, he said quietly. Tonight. Right now. We will. But Marcus, listen to me. This needs to be airtight. Mitchell has friends in the police department, the mayor's office. If we move too fast, evidence disappears. Witnesses change their stories. We need to do this right. How long? 72 hours. We'll get warrants. Secure all the evidence. Interview witnesses. And then we'll arrest him in a way that sends a message to everyone else in this corrupt system. Catherine sat back down. Can you wait 72 hours? Marcus thought about it. Every instinct screamed to move now. To drag Mitchell into a cell and throw away the key. But Catherine was right. They had one shot at this. One chance to do it correctly. 72 hours, he agreed. Word travels fast in small towns. By that evening, everyone knew that the black man in the fancy car wasn't a drug dealer or a thief or whatever Officer Mitchell had told people. He was Marcus Webb, federal prosecutor, Yale law graduate, the man assigned to investigate the biggest corruption scandal in Millbrook's history. And Officer Derek Mitchell had just destroyed his car. The police chief, Thomas Riley, was not a corrupt man. He was, however, a coward. The kind of administrator who looked the other way when his officers bent the rules, who smoothed over complaints, who valued order over justice. But even he knew this was bad. He called Mitchell into his office at 8 p.m. Tell me you didn't do what I think you did. Mitchell sat in the chair across from the chief's desk, arms crossed. I don't know what you're talking about. The McLaren. Marcus Webb's McLaren. The one that's currently sitting in our impound lot looking like it went through a blender. Must have been damaged during the tow. Chief Riley leaned forward. Derek, the impound lot has security cameras. We both know what those cameras show. For the first time, Mitchell's confidence wavered. He was driving a stolen vehicle. It wasn't stolen. The VIN came back clean. Then the computer was wrong. The computer wasn't wrong. You were wrong. You pulled over a federal prosecutor, accused him of grand theft auto with zero evidence, illegally impounded his vehicle, and then destroyed it. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mitchell's jaw tightened. I was doing my job. Your job. The chief's voice rose. Your job is to protect and serve, not to harass law-abiding citizens because you don't think they should be able to afford nice things. He was suspicious. He was black. There it was. The quiet part said out loud. That's why he was suspicious. Because you couldn't believe a black man could legitimately own a $300,000 car. Mitchell stood up. I'm not going to sit here and be accused of. Sit down. The chief's voice was steel. "We're not done." Mitchell sat. "Do you know what case Marcus Webb is here to prosecute?" The chief didn't wait for an answer. "The corruption case. The one that's been all over the news. The one that's going to bring down half of this town's leadership. And you just gave him a very personal reason to come after every cop in this department." "I didn't know." "You should have known. You should have done your due diligence. You should have run the VIN before you started treating him like a criminal. But you didn't. Because you'd already decided he was guilty." Chief Riley rubbed his temples. "I'm suspending you. Effective immediately. With pay, pending investigation." "You can't do that." "I can and I am. Hand over your badge and gun. You're done until this gets sorted out." Mitchell slammed his badge on the desk. His gun followed. "This is political. You're throwing me under the bus to protect yourself." "I'm protecting this department from your mistakes," the chief shot back. "Now get out of my office." Mitchell left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. He didn't go home. Instead, he drove to Murphy's bar on the edge of town, ordered a whiskey, then another. The bartender, sensing trouble, kept his distance. Mitchell's phone buzzed. Text messages, Facebook notifications. People in town had already heard. Some were supportive. Others, more than he expected, were asking questions. Uncomfortable questions. "Why did you pull him over? The VIN came back clean, didn't it? Did you really smash his car? That's not cool, man." Mitchell ignored them all. But he couldn't ignore the knot in his stomach. The growing realization that he'd made a mistake. Not a small mistake. Not the kind you apologize for and move on. The kind of mistake that ruins careers. The kind that ends with lawyers and lawsuits, and the rest of your life spent explaining why you destroyed a man's property, because you couldn't handle being wrong. He ordered another whiskey. Marcus spent that first night in a hotel. The Millbrook Inn, a modest place with clean sheets and weak water pressure. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, processing everything that had happened. His phone rang. Houston number. He answered. "Marcus? It's Sharon." Sharon Shun, his former supervisor at the Houston office. "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Your car is destroyed." "Yeah." He tried to keep the emotion out of his voice. "But I'm fine. Marcus, if you want to come back to Houston, we can arrange a transfer. You don't have to stay there." He thought about it for about 3 seconds. "No, I'm staying." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." And he was. Because running would send a message. The wrong message. That they could push him out. That they could intimidate him. That a black man who got too successful, who got too visible, who demanded too much respect could be put back in his place with a little violence and a lot of prejudice. No, he was staying. And he was going to burn this corrupt system down. "All right," Sharon said. "But if you need anything at all, I'll call." "Thank you, Sharon." After she hung up, Marcus opened his laptop, started making notes. Every detail of the encounter. Every word Mitchell said. The timeline. The witnesses. The illegal impound. The destruction of property. He worked until 3 a.m. Then he slept for 4 hours and woke up ready for war. The next 72 hours moved fast. Catherine's investigator, Dan, secured the security footage from the impound lot. Crystal clear video of Officer Mitchell entering with a baton, spending 20 minutes inside, leaving with the baton noticeably damaged, pieces of broken glass clinging to his uniform. They interviewed the tow truck driver. He testified that the car was in perfect condition when he'd impounded it. Not a scratch. He had photos to prove it, taken as standard procedure for insurance purposes. They subpoenaed Mitchell's phone records, found text messages to other officers, just taught someone a lesson about his place. Took care of that situation on Main Street. Shouldn't have talked back to me. Evidence piled up like cordwood. And then they found the connection they'd been looking for. Bank records showing that Mitchell had deposited exactly $5,000 in cash every month for the past 3 years. No explanation. No paper trail. Just cash, regular as clockwork. The same amount paid to 3 other officers, also under investigation. The same amount traced back to construction companies who'd won city contracts they shouldn't have won. Everything connected. One beautiful, damning web of corruption. On the morning of the 3rd day, Catherine called Marcus into her office. "We're ready. I've briefed the FBI. They're sending agents from the San Antonio field office. We're executing arrest warrants at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Mitchell and 4 other officers. The mayor. 2 city council members. All at once, so nobody can destroy evidence or run." Marcus felt something electric run through him. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to stay out of it. Mitchell's arrest needs to be clean. No appearance of personal vendetta. No conflicts of interest. Can you do that?" He wanted to be there. God, how he wanted to be there. To see Mitchell's face when the cuffs clicked shut. But Catherine was right. "I'll stay out of it," he promised. "Good. But Marcus?" Catherine smiled. "When we prosecute him, you're going to be in that courtroom, and he's going to have to sit there and watch you do what you do best." The arrests happened at dawn. Synchronized raids across the city. FBI agents and windbreakers knocking on doors, reading rights, leading handcuffed officials out to waiting cars. Officer Derek Mitchell was arrested at his home. His wife screamed. His kids cried. The neighbors filmed it on their phones. And Derek Mitchell, who'd spent his entire career wielding power over others, was reduced to what Marcus had been 3 days ago. Helpless. The story hit the news by 7 a.m. Local stations, then state networks. By noon, it was on CNN. Texas corruption bust. Police officers, officials arrested in federal sting. And buried in the third paragraph of every story. The investigation gained urgency after Officer Derek Mitchell allegedly destroyed the vehicle of Marcus Webb, the newly appointed federal prosecutor assigned to the case. Marcus watched the news coverage from his temporary office. Watched Mitchell's mugshot flash across the screen. Watched reporters detail the charges. Watched everything he'd worked for. Everything this corrupt system had tried to take from him. Finally result in justice. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then did. Marcus Webb. Mr. Webb, this is Officer Jenkins. I was there when Mitchell pulled you over. The voice was young, nervous. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have stopped it. I should have said something. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You can say something now. If you know anything about the corruption, about Mitchell, about any of it, now's the time. I don't know things, and I'll testify. Whatever you need. A pause. What Mitchell did was wrong. What all of them did was wrong. And I'm tired of being part of it. Come to the U.S. Attorney's office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Ask for Catherine Simmons. I'll be there. Another witness. Another piece of the puzzle. The arraignment was scheduled for 3 days later. Marcus sat in the courtroom gallery, not at the prosecutor's table. That was Catherine's spot, and the line prosecutors she'd assigned to Mitchell's specific charges. But he was there, present, visible. Derek Mitchell was led and wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, looking smaller somehow than he had in his uniform. His eyes scanned the courtroom, and when they landed on Marcus, something crumbled in his expression. Recognition, understanding, the full weight of what he'd done. The judge, a stern woman named Patricia Torres, read the charges. Criminal mischief causing damage exceeding $250,000. Deprivation of rights under color of law. Theft by a public servant. Abuse of official capacity. Retaliation. Conspiracy to commit fraud. She looked up. How does the defendant plead? Mitchell's lawyer, a tired-looking public defender who'd drawn the short straw, said, "Not guilty, Your Honor." Bail. The prosecutor stood. The state requests no bail, Your Honor. Officer Mitchell has demonstrated a propensity for retaliation and violence. He's also a flight risk given the severity of charges. The defense attorney argued. The judge listened, then ruled. Bail is set at $500,000, cash only. Defendant will surrender his passport and wear an ankle monitor. Trial is set for 60 days from today. The gavel came down. Mitchell was let out. As he passed Marcus's row, he stopped. The bailiff pulled on his arm, but for just a second, the two men locked eyes. Mitchell's lips moved. Marcus couldn't hear the words, but he could read them. I'm sorry. Too late, Marcus thought. About 6 months too late. Here's what happened next, in the weeks and months that followed. Officer Derek Mitchell's lawyer approached Catherine Simmons with a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. Names, dates, bank accounts, recordings, everything. Mitchell sang like a canary on a spring morning. His testimony brought down the mayor, 2 city council members, the chief building inspector, 4 other police officers. A web of corruption that had strangled Millbrook for nearly a decade. The trial for the criminal mischief and civil rights violations went forward separately. Marcus was called as a witness. He testified for 3 hours, detailing every moment of that traffic stop, every word, every illegal action. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Torres looked down at Mitchell from her bench. Officer Mitchell, you were entrusted with power. The power to protect and serve your community. Instead, you used that power to intimidate, to retaliate, to destroy the property of a man whose only crime was being successful while black. She paused. This court takes such abuses seriously. You were sentenced to 5 years in state prison, followed by 3 years probation. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $327,000 in restitution to Mr. Webb for the destroyed vehicle, legal fees, and punitive damages. Mitchell's face went white. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. Furthermore, Judge Torres continued, you are permanently barred from serving in law enforcement in any capacity, anywhere in the United States. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Mitchell whispered. 5 years. Not as much as Marcus had hoped, but enough. Enough to send a message. Enough to show that actions have consequences. Enough to make every other corrupt cop in every other small town think twice before they decide to destroy a black man's property, because they can't handle the idea that he earned it. Marcus Webb stayed in Millbrook. He bought a new car, not a McLaren this time, but a nice BMW. Understated. He liked it better anyway. He prosecuted the corruption cases, one by one. 1 convictions on 12 of 14 defendants. The 2 acquittals were for lack of evidence, but even they lost their jobs and reputations. Millbrook slowly changed. A new police chief was brought in from outside. Community oversight boards were established. Officers were retrained. It wasn't perfect. These things never are, but it was better. Measurably, tangibly better. Marcus's office had a photograph on the wall. Not of his new car, or his law degree, or his winning record, but a photo of the destroyed McLaren, taken by Dan the investigator, showing every smashed panel and slashed tire. A reminder, not of the injustice, though that was part of it, but something more important. A reminder that the system could be bent, but not broken. That even when men with badges and guns try to put you in your place, there was still justice to be found if you were brave enough to demand it. Visitors to his office would see that photo and ask about it. Marcus would tell them the story. Every time, without embellishment, just the facts. And every time, he did it the same way. A lot of people advised me to let it go, to take a transfer back to Houston, to not make waves. They said a car wasn't worth the fight. He'd pause, looking at that photograph. But it was never about the car. It was about the principle. The principle that a black man in America should be able to drive a nice car, walk down the street, exist in his own success without someone deciding he must have stolen it, that he must have done something wrong, that he needs to be taught his place. He turned back to his visitors then. Officer Mitchell taught me something that day. He taught me that we can't afford to let things go. We can't afford to move on. Because every time we do, we tell the next Derek Mitchell that he can get away with it. That there are no consequences. That power means he doesn't have to follow the rules. So no, I didn't let it go. And I never will. 6 months after the sentencing, Marcus got a letter. Prison envelope. Return address from the facility where Mitchell was serving his time. He almost threw it away. Almost. But curiosity won. Inside, 2 pages. Handwritten. Mitchell's handwriting, small and tight. Mr. Webb, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't want to hear from me, either, if our positions were reversed. But I needed to write this. Not for you. For me. So I can live with what I did. I was wrong. Not just about the car. About everything. I spent my whole career thinking I was one of the good guys. Thinking I was protecting my community. But I was protecting my ego. My prejudice. My idea of how the world should work, and who should be allowed to succeed in it. When I saw you in that McLaren, I didn't see a lawyer or a prosecutor or a man who'd earned his success. I saw everything I've been taught to fear and resent. A black man with more money than me, more education, more success, and I couldn't handle it. So I tried to take it from you. I tell myself I didn't know you were a federal prosecutor, that if I'd known, I would have acted differently. But that's a lie. I should have treated you with respect regardless of who you were, because you were a human being who deserved dignity. And I took that from you. The car was just metal and glass. But the message I sent was something darker. The message that you didn't belong, that you weren't entitled to the fruits of your labor, that no matter how hard you worked or how much you achieved, someone like me could destroy it on a whim. I'm sorry for that. Truly. Deeply. In a way that keeps me up at night. I know this letter doesn't change anything. You're not going to write back. You shouldn't. But I needed you to know that I understand now what I didn't understand then. You weren't the problem that day. I was. I hope Millbrook treats you better than I did. And I hope the next cop who sees a black man in a nice car remembers my name and makes a different choice. Derek Mitchell. Marcus read the letter twice. Then he folded it, put it back in the envelope, and filed it away. He didn't write back. He never would. Because some apologies come too late. Some damage can't be undone with words on paper. But he kept the letter, added it to the file with the photographs and the court records and all the evidence of what happened that day on Main Street. Because stories need to be preserved. Lessons need to be remembered. And the next time someone asked him why he fought so hard over just a car, he had another answer to give them. It was never about the car. It was about making sure that when the Derek Mitchells of the world try to teach someone their place, they learn their own lesson instead. Justice delayed isn't justice denied. Sometimes, it's just justice taking its time. Making sure it gets it right. Making sure the message is clear. You can't destroy what a person has built and expect no consequences. Not anymore. Not in Marcus Webb's district. Marcus still works in Millbrook. Still drives the BMW. Still prosecutes cases with the same intensity he brought to his first day. People know him now. When he walks into a courtroom, there's respect. When he drives through town, there's recognition. And when new police officers are trained, they're shown a case study. Officer Derek Mitchell. The traffic stop. The destroyed car. The conviction. A cautionary tale about what happens when you let prejudice override judgment. Marcus doesn't think about Derek Mitchell much anymore. He's too busy with new cases, new challenges, new battles in the ongoing war for justice. But sometimes, late at night, when he's working on a difficult case, he'll look up at that photograph of the destroyed McLaren. And he'll remember what it felt like to stand helpless in that parking lot, watching his property hauled away by a man who decided Marcus didn't deserve it. And then he'll remember what came after. The investigation, the arrest, the trial, the conviction, the slow, grinding machinery of justice finally working the way it was supposed to. He'll smile, close his laptop, and go home. Because that's the thing about justice. It doesn't always come fast. It doesn't always come easy. But when it comes, when you've fought for it and bled for it and refused to let it go, it's sweeter than anything else in this world. Officer Derek Mitchell smashed a supercar. Now he's in prison. And Marcus Webb? He's exactly where he belongs. Behind a desk with a prosecutor's badge. Fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. Making sure the next Derek Mitchell thinks twice. Making sure justice, however delayed, eventually finds its way home.